Hello, welcome to Education 348. My name is Brad Walker, and I am delighted to be able to work with you and learn with you this semester in this course. A little bit about myself. Before coming to UNCW, I taught 4th and 5th grade for 10 years. I worked as an elementary school principal. I've been here at UNCW for 28 years, starting actually 28 and a half. I love teaching and I love learning. I love being around people who are learning. I especially love being around children who are learning. So I think you've made a great choice to seek a career in elementary education. It's certainly been a great career for me. I actually met my wife Becky in Ed 200. We've been married for 44 years, and what a great journey that has been for me, for both of us. We have 5 children, 13 grandchildren. She actually works at UNCW in the Ed Lab, and that's a great blessing for us as well to be able to work together in the same building. My goal for this class is to make this a most exciting, productive learning experience for all of us. And I think in order to do that, we need to work together. So let's do that. Let's make this be a great learning experience for you. We could argue that language arts, reading and writing, and all other aspects of the language arts probably are the most important subjects that we learn in school. I realize I'm biased because that's my area of focus, but nonetheless I think it's an important goal for all of us to prepare ourselves to be expert, professional teachers of language arts. We can flat out help our kids have the gift of literacy in their lives. So let's work together. Let's be open and honest with each other as we go through the syllabus in just a few minutes. If you see some of the assignments or invitations that don't seem to be what you think we should be doing in this class, then I hope you'll let me know, and I'll work to change those, because I don't want you to come up to the end of this semester saying, gosh, EDN 348 was a waste of my time. I didn't learn one thing there. I think that'd be a terrible waste of time. So let's make sure that doesn't happen. Let's work together and be open and honest with each other. There's my email, walkerb@uncw.edu, and my work number. That automatically flips to my cell phone, and so I'll get an email saying that you've called if I'm not here in my office, so I'll get back to you quickly. Basically, the purpose of this course is to help you become the most effective language arts teachers possible. And so we're going to look at how do children learn literacy, what does literacy do for us, and therefore what will it do for our students, how can we best assess it authentically, how can we look at our students and determine best next steps for them, not necessarily what the curriculum says for us to do. How can we create an exciting, supportive learning environment? How can we empower our students as learners and help them gain their own voice? How can we help develop confidence and desire within our students? And so, while there's a long list of objectives in the syllabus, and I hope you'll look through those, if you kind of boil those down, the bottom line is, I would hope that each of us by the end of this semester can say, hey, I know what literacy does for us in our lives, and I have confidence that I can empower all of my students to have and use the gift of literacy to live a qualitatively better life. I think that's really what we're all about in schools anyway. I've decided to use this textbook, Ralph Fletcher, What a Writer Needs. Let's use the second edition. Ralph Fletcher himself is a very successful author, and I think his book is just filled with a neat perspective of how to look at writing and how to help our students become better writers. On the syllabus, you'll see that one of the things I'd like for us to do is to join a literature response group based on these books. And these are either great books that I've read that I just think you might enjoy, or many of them are on this year's Battle of the Books list, which is another source of really good books. So what I'd ask you to do is pick one of these And you can pick the one that you want to read with friends you might have in the class, or ones that you just think are interesting. And then go to our website and go to the Literature Response Sign Up Wiki and just sign up. That'll help us form our groups, then we'll get started. And so during the course of the semester, in addition to reading the text, I would hope you would, the idea is to jump into a literature response group and about every week read a certain amount of the book and respond with the members of your group. In another video or PowerPoint on the website, I've given you a little introduction to each of these books, so that'll help you make your choice. I like the idea of invitations rather than assignments. I think it sounds better, and it sounds more like a joint venture rather than to say, here's the assignments we'll do. Donald Graves said, schools need to slow down so kids can hurry up. I think that is such a powerful statement. Schools need to slow down so kids can hurry up. As you're out in schools this semester in field experience, I invite you to look at opportunities or look for things in the school where they could slow down so kids could hurry up. I think that's something we always need to do in our classrooms. And so I'm hoping to do that in this class. I think you'll find that there's not necessarily a whole lot of assignments or invitations that you might expect in a college class. The reading assignments are probably a little bit less than you might see in other classes, but I'm doing that deliberately so we can say we're slowing down so we have time to really think and to explore areas that maybe we want to follow up on. We read something interesting in the textbook and we want to learn more about it, so we'll have the time to go look at that. So I'm trying to slow down so we all can hurry up in our learning. And this course is designed so that learning occurs through student engagement in learning strategies that illustrate or demonstrate a philosophy of language arts teaching, curriculum, and learning. Here are the invitations that I think will get us where we want to go. And I would invite you in the next day or two to look through these invitations. And if you feel like they're not going to get us there, then please let me know. And like I said, let's work together to make it be something that's meaningful to you. Number one is participate consistently and aggressively as a learner. So think about yourself as a learner and as a literate person. Come to know what literacy does for you. Think about problems and solutions to those problems. Ask questions and find answers. Experiment with different forms of representation. Art, music, drama are all different forms of representation that I think have bearing in the language arts. I think math is a different form of representation. We'll talk about that later on in another module. And so to kind of help us share what we're learning, I would ask us to participate weekly in a discussion board or a wiki based on our reading. And it's due as posted on the calendar. Basically, we'll look for one each module. So I would hope that you would you would post your comment or question or observation, connection, maybe respond to one or two of the others in the class, and certainly read everyone's post, because I think that's another rich source of information. Invitation number two, participate consistently as a reader. So read the text and read children's literature and participate in the literature circle or the literature response group. To me, those are the same terms. I've given us till the end of the semester basically to complete that literature response group. It's due on April 23rd. And basically I'll be joining the group and just monitoring what you're saying about it, about each book. Let's have those done by April 23rd. Most of you will finish way before then. There's not an assignment due on that other than to finish the literature response group and to participate in the literature response group. Number three, participate consistently as a writer. So I would invite you to keep a writing or a writing sketch journal or folder and write on a consistent basis. It'd be great if we all could write daily, but I know that's not always possible, but try to do it at least twice a week. This is rough draft writing. It's your choice what to write about. You could write about something differently each time. You could write about the same thing, just continue on. Write to learn. You maybe see something in the school and you want to write about it to better understand it. Maybe you have a question. You want to just use writing to reflect. Some of you might want to write for personal reasons, capture a neat experience that's happened with you and a loved one or a friend or a family. Um, then, as part of that, I'd like you to pick something from your writing or sketch journal and share it with another person to get feedback and go through the writing process. We'll talk about that in our next PowerPoint or our next module. And then publish one piece for all of us to see. So you're going to revise it and edit it so it's a published piece and then post it on the discussion board so we all can read it and respond. That's due on April 25th. Then in the same vein, if you're worried about your handwriting, sending notes home, then I'll share with some things when we get to that point in the semester that might help you become more confident with your handwriting if that's something that you feel like you need to do. Number 4, invitation number 4, spend 10 hours out into your assigned classroom. You'll all be assigned a classroom. This is not a list that you have to do everything on. These are just ideas. What I'd like you to do is spend your 10 hours to the best advantage you can. Hopefully you'll observe, you'll watch the teacher, you'll talk to the teacher, you'll pick her brain or his brain. These are some things you might think about doing in the classroom as dealing with language arts. You have free rein on what you do. There's not a requirement to do a reflective log. You're going to think about everything you do along the way. I don't think I have to require that. That's another way to slow down. I would like you to teach at least 2 language arts lessons, and then send me a copy of your sign-in log by April 15th. I would also like you to submit for me what you consider to be your best language arts lesson plan that you've used this semester. I'll give you feedback on that. Certainly there's no excuse for being unprepared for any time you teach, so there'll be more lesson plans that you'll write throughout the semester just as you deal with things in the classroom. But send one that you think's your best one or one that you'd like to have feedback on. I encourage you and invite you to conduct writing and reading conferences with your students. Develop that skill. And we'll talk more about what that means. And then I would like to ask you to participate in learning conferences with me. We'll do it online, either email or a WebEx, or we can do it via the phone if you'd prefer. Just a short 10-minute conference where we talk about how things are going for you, some of the significant things you think you've learned. And I'd like you to share part of your writing in those conferences with me just as a way to kind of help support you in that writing. And then we will have a final exam. It'll be due on May 2nd. So those are the invitations for the class. I suspect we ought to take a few minutes and talk about grading. This course is focused on learning, not grades. And I hate grades because I think they get in the way of learning. And if we're all honest with each other, I think there's been classes that I've been in certainly, and I'm sure that you've been in, where it's almost like thinking, I really don't care about this class. Just tell me what I need to do to get an A and I'll do it and get out of the professor's way. That's not learning. That's not helping you become better teachers. And so I think sometimes we get so focused to grades and assignments that we fail to learn. And we don't take advantage of the learning possibilities that are all around us. And so I invite you this semester to focus on learning as well, not grades. Don't allow grades and minimum requirements to become your focus. Let your focus be on learning all you can about how to best support literacy growth. So to help you do that, I'd suggest that we won't do grades this semester. And the only fair way to do that, I think, is to say everybody has an A. You will get an A in this class. The only thing I ask is that you complete each assignment and do your best. If it looks like I think you're just kind of skating through, I'll talk to you about that and maybe ask you to redo an assignment, but typically I don't have to do that with students. By this time in your program, you're focused on becoming the best teacher you can be, and I trust that you'll use your time wisely and take advantage of this class this semester to truly learn and hone your skills. Now, you can't see my face right now, and I suspect that there's some of you that are saying, "Yeah, right." I promise, you will get an A at the end of this semester. And maybe around midterm time, you'll say, "What grade am I?" You might be inclined to ask me, "What grade am I going to get?" And I'll say, "A." Maybe towards the end of the semester, you'll say, "What grade am I getting?" And I'll say, "A." So just trust that you'll get an A. You will get an A. Now all of a sudden, this class has changed, hasn't it? You're not going to read the textbook worrying what's going to be on a quiz or a midterm or the final. You're going to read the textbook learning what you want to learn about that, and taking time maybe to explore in more depth some items out of the index, or go online and say, "Gosh, that's an interesting concept. What have others said about it?" You won't write in your writing folder or in your writing log or notebook what you think I want you to write. Now you're free to write what you want to write, and I just think that's going to enhance your learning. So if you have questions about this, please don't hesitate to email me. But basically, unless you want to do a traditional grading scheme, and if that's the case, then let me know that too, you will all get an A in this class. Now, let's forget about grades and let's get serious about the business of learning. In the syllabus, you've probably already seen it on the last page of the syllabus. There's the schedule, and so I'll open up the course on January 10th. You'll be able to view the orientation video. You'll be able to see the little introductory video that we made on each of the books. So read the video or look at the video. I've recorded my voice talking about that. I do that on all the PowerPoints. And then sign up for your wiki. And then the first module will be opened at least by Friday. And it shows in each module, it starts on January 10th. I would hope you could have that finished by January 27th. That's 2 weeks. That's a typical time frame. Another way to slow down so you can hurry up. And I'll ask that you have read, you can see what a writer needs, the introduction and the first 3 chapters by then, and participate in the discussion board by Friday, January 27th, basically at midnight. So that's the way this semester schedule will go. Let me just share with you briefly a quick little look at my writing journal or my writing notebook. Sometimes I like to try to draw. This is talking about a night we had a guest speaker, and another professor came in and shared her research about family literacy, so I talked about that just a little bit. Then I've been interested. I'm not an artist, and you can tell that, but I've been interested about how you make things look like they look. And so perspective and those kinds of things in drawing, these are just some things I've tried. The rounding problem, I just look at, this is a roof of a building here on campus out my window in my office, and I'm thinking, how can I make that look on paper exactly as it looks? I think that's the same question we ask ourselves as writers. How can I make it say what I want it to say? How can I develop that feeling that I want it to feel? Here's another example. In fact, that same question. I had gone over to a meeting across campus one year, and it was about this time, first of the semester. In fact, it was in February. It was cold. It might have been the coldest day of the year. In fact, I think it was. I was bundled up walking across campus to go to a meeting over in the administration building. As I rounded the corner there by DePaulo Hall, I noticed a scene there. As there was a big Okame cherry tree in full bloom. And right behind it, or down on the ground, were flowering quince in full bloom. And I thought, wow, this is a contrast. It's the coldest day of the year, and yet here's a corner of spring. And I stood there and just drank that in, just looked at that and enjoyed that. Hurried to my meeting, and then when I got back to my office, I thought, I want to see if I can capture that. And so this is my beginning and some editings. I worked and worked on that. And then I finally got to the point where I was ready to publish it. And so here it is. Here's my final little final piece of my writing called A Corner of Spring. I'll just let you read that quickly. This could be something that you turn in or publish as your published piece. In fact, that semester I think that's what I did for my published piece. Please just read that. So I don't know that that's anything spectacular, but the thing that's fun for me is that the process of trying to capture that moment and revise it and revise it and revise it till it was as close as it could be for me. I told you I was going to a meeting. I think I was, but somehow in writing it, I try to go swimming every day, and it could have been on my way to the pool, but I'm pretty sure it was on my way to a meeting. Here's another example. A summer ago or so, I noticed a couple of red-bellied woodpeckers building a nest in one of a dead pine tree in the back of our yard. And so I started to watch them, and I've taken some notes, and then I started to research about them, and how do you tell the difference between a male and a female, and how do you know they're red-bellied woodpeckers? And it was actually building the nest on the underside of the limb, just like you see there. So I'm sketching some things, and here's some other things that I've learned about them, learned about how many eggs and how deep their nest is, and their claws, their feet are zygodactylous, which means they have front and back so they can grab onto the limbs, and it helps them when they're climbing up the side or even underneath a limb. Their elongated fourth finger is pterodactylus, is like pterodactyls, which I find interesting. I learned that they're monogamous, so it's one male and one female. They stay together for their lives. Their chicks are altricial. They're helpless. They both parents feed them until they're old enough to do that. Here's some more notes I've taken and some things I'd written away from my log in a meeting. I'm sure I felt like I can do that. And then I started to try to put that together. I'd read a book called Have You Seen Birds? It's got a neat format to it. And so I put together a little poem that I'd written based on that book, Have You Seen Birds by Joanne Oppenheim, but I called it Have You Seen Red-Bellied Woodpeckers? Barred backs, red-colored caps, colors on the breast birds, pecking beaks, barbed tongues, sticky spit, twilling, undulating flight birds, knocking on the wood birds, hopping and bracing, climbing birds, hitching up and down the tree, upside down, right side up, on top and underneath the limbs, wedging nuts in crevices birds, cracking and storing devices birds, differentiated tongues for effective foraging birds, eating insects, spiders, and an assortment of arthropods, finishing off with nuts, seeds, and even raiding fruit, chipping out the nest birds, keeping watch and trading shift birds, never-ending feeding birds, never resting, always working, taking turns to meet their needs. Males scouting the just right location birds, starting construction of the nest birds, rat-tat-tatting out the invitation. Females checking out the suitor birds, inspecting the nest birds, tapping, twilling, accepting the offer, perfecting construction of their nest. Zygodactylus monogamous with altricious chicks, playing and having fun in the forest birds, so much to see, so much to learn, interesting, beautiful birds. Have you seen red-bellied woodpeckers? So that was another fun writing experience for me, to be able to take something that I was learning, keep notes in my notebook, and then try to put it in some kind of final form. I just wanted to share those two examples with you about one way to do a writing log or writing notebook or writing folder. This is not the way you have to do it. This is just one way to maybe give you some ideas. I hope that was helpful. It surely is enjoyable for me to write. Personally and professionally, I just really do enjoy writing. So let's have a wonderful, exciting, productive semester. Again, I'm excited to work with you, and thank you for your choice to become a teacher, and let's have a great semester.